I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I just been chomping at the bit. That song, 1986, just makes me feel so free. It throws me back to middle school. I came from a small town, and we had a carnival come in town. And that song was blaring on the loudspeaker when I rode the tilt-a-whirl for the first time. It was amazing. It was a beautiful day, and I'm spinning, and my hair is going everywhere, and the music is going, and every time I hear that, I feel free. Free. And I know we're going to talk about contracts today. We're going to talk about lawyer stuff. And in my opinion, contracts help you feel free in your business, free to grow, free to scale, free to create. But before we get there, I want to take you on a quick little story about how I ended up here. Thank you so much, Mike. Oh, and caveat, Mike, I cannot keep anybody from suing you. But what I can do is what Lauren talked about today, and that is mitigate the risk with preparation. So we're going to get to that. 1986, who knows what else came out in 1986? Not as cool as Top Gun. LA Law. Yeah, you guys, Susan Day was the bomb. She was smart, she was confident, and she got to wear heels and a suit to work every day. And I was totally hooked. So fast forward many years, and I end up in law school. This is what law school looks like day one, or at least back in my day, because we didn't have laptops or smartphones or any of that jive. It was just paper and pen. And that's me. Day one of law school, I'm not kidding, for real. And after 3 years, I ended up at a big law firm. We had offices all over the world, and I was litigating high-profile bet the company cases for Fortune 500 companies. I was living the dream. It was my LA law dream, except I was doing it in Atlanta, GA. Nothing wrong with that. Which takes me, because I was in Atlanta, I ended up trying my first case with Matlock. I can't make this up, for real. Matlock is based on a real fella. His name was Bobby Lee Cook, and he was character. He was the original You Are the Brand, this guy. He wore seersucker suits, and he could get anybody out of any pickle. He was amazing. But I will tell you what I love about the courtroom, and that is when the judge wants to talk to the attorney one-on-one without the jury hearing it, the judge says, to the bench, counselors, not attorneys, not lawyers, counselors. And that's what I love, because that's what we do. When Mike was talking to us earlier about what do we love, I love the business advice, the counseling part, the growing with clients and their businesses. I like contracts, okay? I like contracts because they get you where you need to be and protect you the way you need to be protected. So despite the fact that I actually wore suits like this on the regular to court, I'm so sorry, advice to my younger self, I ended up making partner. I got equity partner in a corner office, and to quote Elle Woods, like, what? Like it's hard? And my life looked like this. I was on a plane just about every week to some far-flung place, which was super fun. It also looked like this. It looked like this. And it looked a lot like that. A lot. All the time. Conflict. I made my living in conflict. And then something magical happened. I discovered podcasts. All right, who here is podcaster? Anyone? Amazing. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. Keep doing it, because it changed my life. I discovered personal development. I discovered wellness. And on the day I sold my wedding ring, I was listening to a podcast, and the podcaster said, we're going to Italy. So I pull off the side of the road, and I email the info at, right? I said, I'm going. I don't care what it is, I'm going. And I end up randomly with a group of women I've never met before in Italy. So we've got a taco truck owner, a podcaster, hypnotherapist, CBD producer, author, celebrity vegan chef, and then there's me. I'm the only one in the whole group that's walking the straight and narrow in the corporate life. And they're talking about things like passive income, multiple streams of income. They're talking about being able to travel and work from wherever they want to. They're talking about the fact that I could pick my kids up from school in the afternoon. What? That's magical. And so one day we're hiking the Path of the Gods. Has anybody ever hiked the Path of the Gods? Okay, it's along the Amalfi Coast in Italy, and it's about 3 hours, and one wrong step, and you're going off the side of the cliff into the sea. And I realized about right here that we hadn't signed a waiver. Wait, what, ladies? Nobody signed a waiver here. And it occurred to me that these women who were building these incredible, impactful businesses didn't know what they didn't know. They were not protected. So I ended up back in this world for a couple of years, but I'm doing all their legal work for free, and I'm having an absolute blast. And so I've got this thing where I'm making a living based in conflict, but suddenly I'm a real counselor. They're asking me business advice and legal advice, and I was really conflicted. Like, what am I going to do? And so I did what one does, and we go to the beach and we put our toes in the sand and we ask for clarity. And very quickly after that, I had an exit strategy. And after 20 years, I walked out. Has anybody ever left corporate, like a steady corporate job, to be an entrepreneur? They think we're nuts, right? Absolutely nuts, but it's a calling. It's a calling, and I couldn't think of doing anything except trading my high heels for flip-flops and building businesses from the beach. And so that's where I ended up. Accidentally, I own a wine shop. We can talk about that offline. But I am a business owner. I'm a small business owner in addition to an attorney who helps entrepreneurs. So I sat right there in that chair and I read Mike's book. And I was hooked. It was so good. And so I signed up for his mastermind. And thankfully, thank you so much, Mike. I'm here, and I'm here with you. And so we're going to talk about contracts for creators. I believe that contracts, when you are a business owner, you have an obligation to understand contracts and understand how the terms in those contracts work for you, for your clients, or for the people that you're collaborating with. All right. When I say contracts, does anybody feel like that? Yeah. Somebody introduced me to speak about a year ago, and they said, okay, you guys, this is Ashley, and she's a lawyer, and this is just the part of the week you got to get through. They were saying it tongue-in-cheek, and I love them, and they might be here this week. But it's true, right? It's kind of that cringe thing, but this is what I want it to feel like for you, right? Come along for the ride. It can be free. It can be fun when we have a handle on what we've got going on. But first, let's take a personality quiz. Does anybody like personality quizzes? All right. Let's see if you recognize yourself in any of this. I think that there's an axis of what your intentions are. Are your intentions good? Define good, but are your intentions pure? And what's your knowledge level? How much do you understand about what's going on? We'll start with ostrich. Tell me if this resonates. Yeah, it's on the list. It's all going to work out. You were friends, and, oh, wait, it's a little too formal to be putting black and white contract in front of people. That kind of makes me cringe. What could go wrong here? I don't know where to start. And I trust people, right? That's an ostrich. Gorilla. Oh my gosh, lawyers. Or maybe I'll just LegalZoom it, which, by the way, mad props to LegalZoom because they are making law accessible, but they're not going to hold your hand and walk arm in arm with you. But grateful for what they're putting out in the world. A gorilla will say, hey, I'm going to make it up as I go. Nobody's going to mess with me. I can talk my way around anything. Maybe I'll just grab a form off of Google and throw some stuff in there. Or maybe, hey, I've got a buddy who has a contract, so I'll just turn that into mine, right? This is what a gorilla thinks they look like when they do that with a contract. This is what you actually look like, okay? When you don't understand what's actually in the contract that you're sharing with people. All right, next version, Komodo dragon. Do you guys know that these creatures are super strategic and they will eat their babies if they feel like it? Like, they're mercenary. They don't care. So the way they deal with other people in contracting, say, My lawyer's got this. We've snuck some stuff in there. They're never going to catch this. I'm super strategic. I had a client send me a contract the other day. They said, hey, Ashley, we're getting ready to sign this contract. We're going to collaborate with somebody. Will you just look it over and tell us if we can sign it? I got about 2 pages in, and their lawyer had buried all kinds of little tidbits in there that if you didn't know what you were looking for, you didn't know. I called him up. I said, don't do business with this guy. He just told you everything you needed to know about him. Oh, but actually, he's kind of a big deal. I don't care. Don't do business with this guy. So the final one is the sandpiper. When I moved to the beach, I fell in love with these little guys. These little birds are so focused and so diligent they can work on their own. Sometimes they work together. They stay on task. They know what the plan is. They stick to it. Once in a while, they'll take a little break and go on a little flight and come right back down and get back to work. I love the sandpiper. And this is where you want to be. You know that you've got your basics locked down, and you're walking arm in arm with somebody who's helping you make sure you're doing that. So here we go. What happens when an ostrich and a gorilla contract? Litigation, corporate divorce, because they probably don't have a contract in place, or they may have something in place and they don't understand what's in it. That's when disagreements, disputes, discord happens. And I can tell you, over the 20 years that I litigated, a number of the cases I handled were what I call corporate divorce. It's not just business. It is painful. It hurts. It's hard. Okay? I don't want you to end up there. What happens when a Komodo dragon and an ostrich contract or work together? Ostrich gets eaten alive every time, right? But when a sandpiper is leading the way, is a little bird who's on task, they're able to say to the Komodo dragon, hey, I don't want any of that. They're able to say to the gorilla, hey, slow your roll, man. Like, we're going to do this the right way, or we're not going to work together. They're able to say to an ostrich, come on, I got you. We're going to work all the details out together. So when you're thinking about contracts, if you think about that framework and who you're working with, it can help put conversations into perspective. So here's what a contract is, and I'm going to say something that's probably unpopular with a number of lawyers. Are there any? I know I met one lawyer. There you are. Okay, so the basics of a contract, all you need to have an agreement is not a piece of paper with black and white, signed, notarized, documented, all of that. That's ideal, but that's not what you have to have. You need offer, acceptance, and consideration, or an exchange of value. So when I was putting together my ebook, I texted my friend Cassie back here, and I said, oh my gosh, Cassie, the content's good, but it's not pretty. And she does design. I said, will you help me? She says, yes, I can do it for this amount of money in this time frame. Is that good? That was her offer. I texted back, yes, girl. That was acceptance. The consideration was the exchange of money for time and energy and value that she provided. We had a contract. But if she wanted to enforce that contract, it might be a little harder, right? We've got a series of texts back and forth. We have an agreement legally, but because she's a boss, 2 hours later, she sent me a contract. She said, I'll get started working after you sign this. And we're friends, right? So the level of formality, I've found that entrepreneurs sometimes are not as comfortable throwing a formal contract in front of folks. So the level of formality goes up as the stakes go up. And the more money you make in this business, the more of a target you are. And so it's just worth considering at what point you need to formalize what you're doing. How do we do that? In this world, I like to think about it in 2 buckets: client contracts and collaboration contracts. Client contracts. These are all things that folks in this room do, right? You do one-on-one coaching, there are masterminds, there are events, online courses, service agreements, group training. Those are your clients, right? And those are the kinds of agreements you want to think through. What goes into an agreement like that, right? When we think about our clients, has anybody ever done the client avatar exercise, right? Yeah, I mean, that's standard. When you're doing a contract for a client relationship, you want to think about the client journey. What's that going to look like from start to finish? What's the time investment? What are you committing to? Are you giving them a guarantee? Or is this a service provided with no guarantees? Do you have expectations about how they're going to show up? Are you very clear about the financial commitment? Are you clear about, Mike, this came up with us. We had a 6-month mastermind, and about 4 months in, after somebody had participated, they just couldn't commit anymore and needed their money back. Any good agreement is going to have some clear rules about how that works, okay? Ownership. You're providing value. You're providing content. Or in a mastermind, people are sharing their content with one another. Who owns that? Let's get really clear about that. Let's protect what you've created. How are you going to deal with roadblocks? And does the relationship end? At what point does it end? Or is it a continuing relationship, and how does it re-up? All things to think about in your client journey. By the way, if you come to Florida and stop by our wine shop, we'll deliver your wine in our 1965 Chevy truck. That's a for real thing right there. So fun. All right, collaboration contracts. I mean, in the entrepreneur world, this is one of the things I love about what we do is we get to work with one another. And so we help folks think through what does that collaboration look like. It can be as formal as a partnership agreement. It could be a joint venture. You may agree to put something together and share the profits from it. In this world, there are a lot of affiliate agreements. If you promote my course, I'll give you a portion of the funds. Get really clear on what that looks like so there's no questions down the road. Non-disclosure agreements. If you are thinking about working with somebody, but you haven't made a decision yet, and you're sharing confidential business information, enter a non-disclosure agreement, please, that makes really clear we're having discussions, and eventually we may, for example, end up in a manufacturing agreement. I've got a product, I want the manufacturer to do it, but I'm going to disclose confidential information before we enter that relationship. All things to think about. In a collaborative relationship, if you take nothing else from this today, I want you to think about contracts as relationship builders and relationship preservers. What I mean by that, when you are going into a collaborative relationship, often it's with friends or very close colleagues or acquaintances, I would urge you to sit down, I don't care how much wine it takes, and have the real conversations. You would do this in a personal relationship, right? Who's responsible for what? How are we going to handle money? How often are we going to communicate? What happens if we have a disagreement? What happens if one of us wants to sell out or back out? How do we divide this up if we decide not to work together anymore? If this, goes by the wayside, how are we going to bring others in if we decide that makes sense in the relationship? So I urge you to think about it as a relationship builder. How is it a relationship preserver? This is how. The litigation I saw with folks who parted ways and it went poorly had not discussed things, and they didn't have it in writing, or if they had something in writing, it wasn't clear. So when the debate comes up, they've got something in black and white to go back to. We said in paragraph 9, this is how we're going to handle this tricky thing. It takes the emotion out of it, and it comes back to just business. It's a lot easier to deal with. So I'd urge you to think about that. They're my sandpipers. They're the best. So in thinking about all of this, I would just encourage you to figure out what direction you're going, have free-flowing conversations together about the way you're going to get there, either with your clients or the people you're building business with. Figure out the direction first, get that roadmap in place, and then I wish for you freedom and joy. That's what I want for you so that you can grow and scale and create with so much fun. That's why we got this into this in the first place, right? So that's what I wish for you. This is where you can find me. This is where I'd love to give this to you. It's 5 legal foundations every entrepreneur needs to bubble wrap their business. Again, can't prevent you from getting sued, but we can protect you and these beautiful businesses that you are growing. My hashtag, Legal AF, those are my initials, forgive me. And if you just liked the dog in the pictures, he's got his own hashtag too. All right. Thank you so much.